Well, my friends, welcome back to Spot On with Link Lauren. Before we dive into the fun, we have some hot topics today. We have Megyn Kelly coming on the show in about 15 minutes. I want to address the horrific incident that took place yesterday in Boulder, Colorado. I'm calling it a terrorist attack, the same way I called it a terrorist attack 10 days ago when that couple was shot in cold blood in Washington, D.C. So if you don't know what's happening, if you've been living under a rock, if you haven't checked the news, a man named Mohammed Soleiman, who was 45 and was led into the country under Joe Biden. This is someone who should not have been in the country, who overstayed their visa. He decided to light Jewish folks on fire. One woman allegedly was an elderly Holocaust survivor. This is horrific. It's disgusting. It's barbaric. It should not be taking place on American soil. So this man has been taken into custody. There are right now, as of this taping, 8 people who are injured, ages 52 to 88. And these are folks who were out there. They were protesting for the hostages, the Israeli hostages, and they were lit on fire by this disgusting man. So my sympathies are with them. And there have been a lot of conversations online overnight about how Jewish folks should protect themselves. I think if you are Jewish, if you seem Jewish, if you feel unsafe, if you think you could be attacked because this is what's happening out there in the streets, then you should arm yourselves. You should do what you have to do to take care of yourself and your family. But I'm sending my sympathies to everyone involved, the victims, their families, and law enforcement who have taken him into custody. And I'm grateful to DHS, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and everybody who is going to get to the bottom of this. But anti-Semitism has no place on American soil. Now, let's dive into the show. Well, Pride Month is officially here. Get your sunglasses, gouge your eyes out, because they, whoever they are, have updated the Pride flag, and it is the most disgusting, ugly, but ugly flag I've ever seen. And this is something that might actually unite the Democrat gays, the Republican gays. Gays all across the political spectrum have come together because the new Pride flag we take no responsibility for, okay? Us normal gays, as JD Vance said, I'm gonna be honest, normal gays, you know what they are. We take no responsibility for this flag. Whatever happened to the good old Roy G. Biv rainbow flag, come one, come all to the Halloween ball, sing kumbaya? That flag worked for decades. But here's the thing with these liberal gays and the LGBTs. If you give them an inch, they're gonna want 10, okay? They are never happy. They are going to keep sticking things on this flag like a freaking ugly Christmas sweater. That is what it's becoming. So this old flag that we used to love was simple. It was enough. But now they've redone it, and I'd like to put the new flag back up on the screen for 1 second because I'm not done eviscerating this new flag. So this new flag, you've got horizontal rainbow lines, which look great. They look normal. Then they've decided to do these like diagonal, these diagonal arrow lines in baby blue, brown, black, and then they put this random circle on the flag. I don't know what the circle symbolizes. Is it a hole? Is it a circle? I'm scared to ask what the hell it symbolizes. But this new flag, it is ugly. Nobody likes it. Liberals, Republicans, independents, libertarians, every single gay is coming together to say they do not like this flag. But us normal gays, like I said, we take no responsibility for this. Now, in doing research for this episode, we discovered there are about 500 pride flags, apparently. There are a million different pride flags because, like I said, you can't please these liberals. So let's put all these new flags up on the screen, right? You've got like a demisexual flag, like a pansexual flag, a rubber flag. I don't even know what all of this is, right? I am a gay man in media. I have no idea what all of this crap is, okay? The rainbow flag used to be enough. Gay rights used to mean we want to be treated like everybody else. That's what the gay rights movement was for decades. We want gay marriage. We want equal pay. We want all of this, yada, yada, yada. 10 years ago, because of the Obergefell Supreme Court decision in the summer of 2015, let me make sure I get that right because I was in high school, but the Obergefell Supreme Court decision in 2015 gave gays marriage, okay? But because these organizations like Human Rights Campaigns and these other nonprofits, they needed another way to fundraise because for decades, they'd been fundraising off the fact, we got to get gay marriage, we got to codify and get gay marriage all across all 50 states. Now that we have gay marriage, they need some new reason to be a victim. They need a new reason to fundraise. And that is now the T, right? Apparently, trans rights are being taken across the country. This is the big discussion this Pride Month. I'm here to tell you, I don't know what rights trans people don't have right now. Literally, Trump, the administration, nobody cares. If you're a grown adult and you want to be trans, let your flag fly. If you're a grown man and you want to become a woman, you want to go get some surgeries, do what you want to do. You're an adult. It's a free country. The problem is that trans folks, more than ever before, this never used to be an issue to the last few years. They want to trans kids. They want to push trans ideology onto minors and young, impressionable children, right? They're teenage girls getting mastectomies because these sick doctors are telling them they were born in the wrong body, and they're 16-year-old girls getting their breasts cut off. I hate to even talk about it right now. We also see more and more men like A.B. Hernandez infiltrating women's sports, and girls like Peyton McNabb are getting hurt. So the gay LGBT movement used to be, we want equal treatment. Now the movement is basically, we want special treatment, okay? We want to decide on a Monday, we're going to identify as the opposite sex, and we want entree into women's locker rooms, women's sports, and if you don't call us the right pronouns, then you're a bigot and you're transphobic. That is basically what they've done to weaponize the trans movement. Us normal folks, we don't want anything to do with that baloney, and there are a lot of trans folks who just want to blend in and be normal trans adults, and they think it's wrong too. They don't want men and women's sports either. But like I said, you give them an inch, they're going to want to take a mile, they're going to want all 10. And there's also this narrative, right, that Trump is taking rights away from gay people, he's taking trans rights away. Trump was the only president who went to the White House in 2017, January of 2017, supporting gay marriage. If you guys go and look at the clips of Barack Obama, Joe Biden, when they were on the campaign trail in 2008, they did not support same-sex marriage, right? Donald Trump, whether people want to admit it or not, was the first person to go to the White House supporting same-sex marriage. But I'm excited for this Pride Month, right? A lot of companies, they're opting out of this ugly new pride flag. And like I said, I don't know what the hell is going on with the design, if it was designed by Helen Keller. I don't know what's happening with this pride flag, but a lot of companies are opting out of all of this buffoonery and tomfoolery. And I'm glad we're not going to have topless trans people on the White House lawn anymore like we had with Joe Biden. Joe Biden, he didn't want to sit down with troops, people who had served our country. Joe Biden wanted to sit down with Dylan Mulvaney, and he wanted to have topless trans folks on the White House lawn. Where is the decorum? Where is the decorum? Where is the couth? Where is the class? It is gone. Now, we'll be tracking Pride Month for the rest of the month, but I have to point something else out right now. So we saw this morning Governor Tim Walz. You guys remember Mr. Jazz Hands Tim Walz, who walks into every room like Bob Fosse. Well, he has declared it's Pride Month in Minnesota. He wants to host parades. He wants to have parties. He wants to have fun. And I'm sure the man does because he is gayer than the Fire Island production of Rent. Okay? There's no one gayer on earth than Tim Walz. He makes me look like a masculine, straight bodybuilder. Okay? That is what Tim Walz does. So Tim Walz, you're a joke. Thank God you're not vice president right now. The last thing I want to say about this topic is this. A poll also came out from Gallup, a Gallup poll, that support for same-sex marriage has dropped a little bit, right? Support for LGBT rights, they've gone down a tiny bit, and everybody wants to point the fingers and say, Republicans, it's your fault. You're the reason the support has gone down. I'm here to tell you this. There has to be some culpability and responsibility from LGBTQIA, XYZ, R2D2 people across the country, because the reason support is slightly dipping right now is because you're pushing men into women's sports. You're pushing trans ideology onto kids. You're having pride parades where you're naked out in the street, balls to the wall in front of children. Now, the parents should not have their kids there in the first place. I used to enjoy Pride in 2017 and 18. We would go out, we would dance, we would have fun. It'd be a beautiful parade. You go to a lot of these parades now, they are literally naked dancing through the street. And this is what I'm saying. It's not that they want equal rights like everybody else. They want some type of special treatment, because if every Tom, Dick, and Harry on a random Monday went out there and was naked willy-nilly on the street, they would be arrested. But because in the name of pride, they think they're allowed to run down the street naked or on dog leashes with dog masks on in front of children, right? So this is what has happened. The radicals, the radical leftists have co-opted the entire pride LGBT rights movement. They've made this ugly, this very ugly flag that none of us want anything to do with. They're going down the street naked. And here's the thing, if you guys want to go have naked parties in private, do what you want to do behind closed doors. But coming down Fifth Avenue, okay, or coming down Main Street across America, naked in front of children is why support is dropping. And you have to look in the mirror at some point and take responsibility. People didn't just suddenly turn into bigots overnight. Most adults, if you travel across this country, have been to almost every 50 state, almost all 50 states in the last 2 years. No one really has a problem with gay people. Literally, do what you want to do. People want to pay their bills, raise their kids, put food on the table, and go to work and have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Most Americans do not give a rat's ass if you're gay. You want to go be gay? Do it. Love it. No problem for most Americans. I've been welcome in the Republican Party wholeheartedly. But that's because I believe in common sense. These radicals on the left who want to run down the street naked and push trans onto children and men and women's sports, they are ruining it for the rest of us who are all being lumped in, and they've also ruined the pride flag. Now, we have to pay some bills, but when we come back, we have the icon, the legend. She looks way too young to be an icon and a legend. She looks stunning. We have Megyn Kelly joining us. She is my boss. She is the head of MK Media, which is where we're coming to you right now. So let's pay some bills, and then we'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by Masa Chips. Did you know that chips and fries used to be cooked in tallow up until the 1990s when big corporations switched to cheap, processed seed oils? But today, seed oils make up 20% of the average American's daily calories, and recent studies have linked seed oils to metabolic health issues and inflammation in the body. We got through that sentence, hallelujah. Masa decided to do something about it. They created a tasty and delicious tortilla chip with just 3 ingredients and no seed oils. Just organic corn, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed beef tallow. These chips don't only avoid all the bad stuff, they taste incredible too. Masa is crunchier, tastier, and sturdier than other chips. They don't break in your guacamole. I was testing it over the weekend. I'm here to tell you I could shovel that guacamole on there. Did not break, okay? Snacking on Masa chips is nothing like eating regular chips. With Masa, you feel satisfied, light, and energetic with no crash, bloat, or gross, sluggish feeling afterwards. And an added bonus, the beef tallow makes the chips much more satiating, so you won't find yourself uncontrollably binging and still feeling hungry afterwards. Masa Chips is beloved by tens of thousands of customers and has been endorsed by industry-leading health and nutrition experts like Ben Greenfield and Gary Brecka. Ready to give Masa a try? Go to masachips.com/link and use code LINK for 25% off your first order. That's masachips.com/link, code LINK for 25% off your first order. Well, this next guest really needs no introduction. Like I told you, she's an icon, she's a legend, but she looks way too young to be an icon and a legend. We have the one and only host of the Megyn Kelly Show, Megyn Kelly herself. She is the reason we are here right now. She is the reason I'm no longer filming videos on my phone with crappy quality. We have a high definition camera. We have a microphone. So Megyn, welcome to the show. We could not be happier to have you.
I mean, as usual, Link, you are spot on. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
Thank you for being here. We will skip the pleasantries. I was telling the team, we don't need to waste 1 second of your time. I want to dive into this first topic. There's this young 22-year-old, beautiful abortion rights activist named Olivia Juliana. She works with the DNC. They really highlighted her during the convention. They had her on camera. She was on stage. She works very closely with the DNC, but she's gone viral the last few days because she is their new secret weapon they're using to reach young men. We have a clip. Let's take a look and then discuss.
Don't actually spend time talking to young men. You know this because we know each other in real life, but I spend a lot of time on college campuses, and I spend a lot of time with
young men.
I love young men. I love frat guys, and in that I've realized, like, even the ones that identify as conservative are almost always pro-choice. They're almost always pro-gay marriage. You'd be surprised at the number of them who support Black Lives Matter. And so I feel like people just kind of lump them into this box when the truth is, again, a lot of them are with us on the issues. They're just not part of our coalition because they feel like they're not welcomed in.
Okay, Megyn, We have talked about this for years on the right. Somehow these folks at the DNC have decided in June of 2025, you know what? Men have left the Democratic Party. They've decided to wake up to this fact. Do you think the Democrats are in good hands with this woman at the helm? She says she goes to all these frat houses and young men are fired up about Black Lives Matter. I've never met a young man who is fired up about Black Lives Matter, Megyn.
Oh, I wonder what fraternities these could possibly be. Speaking on behalf of all Syracuse University graduates, there isn't one there that would be open-minded to Juliana coming in to discuss her views on abortion and BLM. I mean, this is ridiculous. Is this their answer? As Republicans and right-minded independents, I think we can heave a huge sigh of relief if this is the solution to their problem. I mean, this is so, like, it's so funny to me that they need to study. They need to study young men to try to figure out how to speak to them. You know, the New York Times had that article where they were saying, we've got to take a hard look at the syntax Republicans are using in dealing with young men, because that's the way into their hearts. Well, why don't you stop saying you don't hire men? That, okay, like, we don't have to go all that deep. We don't need $20 million on a focus group. How about removing the effective sign from outside of all of corporate America that says, we don't hire white and we don't hire white men? That might really open up some avenues for you with voters. I mean, it's just absolutely absurd that they're spending time with this woman. And by the way, not for nothing, no offense to Juliana, but if you really want to make inroads with young college-age men, I think you'd be hiring somebody who could be like on one of those commercials for the big hamburgers that used to be on the Super Bowl all the time. You're like, you need one of those girls who could have like a hose on her while she eats a big cheeseburger. I don't know why it works with the young men. Someone will have to explain it to me, but I know it does.
Mm-hmm. No, they need someone from like a Carl's Jr. Super Bowl commercial.
That's
like
what it
I've
is,
been
Carl's
saying,
Jr.
it's always I said this the other day on a show. These abortion activists who are saying we need more abortion clinics, more Planned Parenthoods, we are pro-choice, pro-choice, pro-choice. They never have any romantic prospects. They look like Chewbacca. No one's going near them. So I'm like, I think you're safe being an abortion rights activist. I think you are good. But you brought up this article that we saw last week in the New York Times, $20 million to study how young men speak. Why don't you go sit down and talk to Charlie Kirk? Why don't you actually talk to young men? I think young men are also tired of apologizing for their masculinity. And in the left, they just don't feel welcome. And you're raising young boys who are becoming men. What advice do you give to your young men as they're going out into the world? Because it's such a polarizing environment. Now, if you ask a girl out at the water cooler, she could turn around and say, you made me feel uncomfortable, right? It seems like there's this almost overcorrection now where a lot of guys don't feel comfortable doing anything.
No, I worry about that environment for them. I mean, they're still young. My kids are young, so they haven't yet had to cross these bridges. But I do worry about that stuff, like the crazy Me Too, googly-eyed women who think anybody who doesn't ask for permission before they lean in for a kiss is the equivalent of a Harvey Weinstein. I mean, these women are nuts. I mean, I would say to any mother or father of young boys, go on offense. If your son gets, any inkling that he's in a Me Too situation over a nothing burger like the one I just outlined, you got to go on offense. You should send your son first to the dean to say, I'm being wrongfully disparaged by this woman, saying to her friends on this or on the other thing after a completely consensual activity. I would never let somebody do that to my kid, and I don't think anybody should allow it to happen to theirs. I do think that, part of the huge problem the Democrats have with young men is the wokeism. And it's like the irony of her saying they're pro-BLM. That's bullshit. But by the way, if they're saying they're pro-BLM, they're literally just saying it. They're saying it because they've been told they have to say, okay, I'm pro-BLM, and they have to post the black square on my Instagram or I'm canceled before I even get my first job. So she's too dumb to realize that it's just it's proactive. It's prophylactic. So secondly, I watch my kids go through this every other week at a non-woke school. Is Women's History Month, African American History Month, Native American History Month, Pride Month. Now we're in. Truly, the kids are like, oh, they don't feel any of these things. They don't feel like, I'm really super into Black history now. Tell me more about the great women of America and what they've done. They're like, and it's not just my kids who have, grown up with my husband and me being like that. It's all of them. They're all pretending. But these morons in the Democrat Party want to keep pushing it and, study syntax instead.
Right. I mean, I would love to see your son bring home a liberal girl with blue hair sometime. I would love
Oh
to
my
see the
God.
dinner table if they brought home a liberal. But you also mentioned something. I remember the night you endorsed President Trump, and we don't have a clip. I'm just thinking about this now. The night you endorsed President Trump, I remember you turned around to the guys in hard hats and you said, what kind of society can we have? How, as women, can we feel protected if our men are being beaten down and they're not being taken care of? And I thought that really encapsulated this issue with the Democratic Party right now. I think a lot of these guys, they're tired of seeing their girlfriends, their daughters, their wives having their bathrooms infiltrated or their sports teams infiltrated. You look at someone like Peyton McNabb, right? They are tired of seeing their girls getting beat up, and it's why they're leaving the Democratic Party, because they're tired of the nonsense. Don't you think that's a part of it, that they have this desire to protect the homeland, to protect the women in their lives, the guys who have balls?
Yes, you know what, last night, my kids are now on summer vacation, so we stayed up late on a Sunday night. We were watching Zero Dark 30. Remember the movie?
Oh, I love that movie. Yes,
It's
with Jessica
so good.
Chastain.
That shows how they caught bin Laden. And it was, you look at that movie, yes, it completely shows what a heroine this still unnamed CIA agent was, the female agent, so that's great. But like those badasses at the end when you've got like the Navy SEALs getting on board those Black Hawk helicopters, they weren't Black Hawks, but they were, stealth helicopters to go to Abbottabad. That's like badass, amazing, hot masculinity at its finest, right? Like those are men. And every man has that piece in him, that sort of the protector, fighter, don't F with me or my family or my country mentality. It gets beaten out of them by a woke, submissive, weird left that's decided to just that it's not attractive to be a true man anymore. Right. And I mean, no woman wants that. No, even gay man wants that, right? It's like, we miss our real men. So I think, yes. Right, like, it's like, I don't know. I feel like the more we encourage what's a natural instinct in virtually every single man alive, which is to be a protector, to be a fierce protector and a warrior, the better off we'll be. The better off the Democrat Party would be. But they've lost the ability to connect with that at all. Their entire thing is the weird Birkenstock-wearing, man bun, merce-wearing guy who's super effeminate and in touch with his feelings, which is not attractive. And it's not attractive to be. It not only it doesn't attract the opposite sex, it doesn't attract men to the party because they don't want to associate with that. It's incongruous with their own God-given instincts.
Absolutely. No, I think these men are just tired of apologizing. Their masculinity is toxic. If they try to explain something, they're mansplaining. If they're sitting comfortably, they're manspreading. There's always just this negative lean to everything on the left. But speaking of a man who's also been beaten down into a shell, we have to move on to Prince Harry, the Duke of White Castle, the Duke of Waffle House. He and Meghan Markle, the wannabe Duchess, okay, the Duchess of Sun Damage, she's back in the news today because there's some new articles out. I just wanted to run through some of them quickly because we had a real deep top of the show with the horrific violence yesterday in Boulder. We just wanted to have some fun with you and discuss Harry and Meghan. So there's this article that came out that Meghan Markle really did expect Harry to be a billionaire when she met him. She was incredibly disappointed to find out he's only worth a couple million, and she's going to have to actually work and hawk these jams and jellies and dog biscuits to have the lifestyle that she wants. I personally think, and I'd love to get your take on this, I think Meghan would leave Harry in a second if a billionaire would scoop her up. I think she'd be in divorce court tomorrow if like an Elon wanted to take her out. But I don't think a lot of billionaires want a 45, 46-year-old duchess with multiple marriages and all that baggage. Meghan, what do you think?
I completely agree. And by the way, she's already gotten the benefit of her bargain with Harry because she got the title. That's what she wanted. She wanted to be world famous. She wanted the title. You remember when Harry was single, he was the elephant. He was the one, the most eligible bachelor on earth. You could be a royal, you could become world famous overnight, you could live in a castle, you could have access to the crown jewels, you would be a princess. My God, yes, he could have had his pick, except for the people who weren't PR whores. Because like his prior girlfriends broke up with him, at least the last two reportedly, because they did not want this lifestyle. They actually didn't want to be famous. They wanted like a normal life where they could just fall in love for real and raise a family. But this woman is nothing but a publicity whore. It's a term of art. And we broke the news that she had Prince Harry on her vision board when she was younger, and that was her goal, #goal, to marry Prince Harry. So it was all about getting the title. She's done that now. Now she's just stuck with this depressed ginger who has absolutely no family, no friends, and no money. This was not # part of the plan. So what is she supposed to do now? Now, if she's smart, and she is that, she's very savvy, she will find a way to bounce past him to some other taker who might actually just love the guy. She will take her royal kids, who can still go by prince and princess, and find the billionaire, like you say, who actually will just keep her in the manner to which she'd like to become accustomed. But as you point out, it gets trickier because these billionaires can sense one thing. When you're not looking for a partner, you're looking for a solution. And that's obviously the lane that Meghan Markle's in now. She doesn't make really her own money. This whole Netflix thing is just a ruse. We all know this is made up just to give her something to do. Her miraculous renewal for her second season, which was already shot in full by the time the first season was done, meaning they just made some extra episodes and decided to roll out a fake second season as a PR plan, hasn't fooled anybody. Now they're saying they're not even sure if she's going to make more jam. That thing's already dwindling on the vine. Everything she touches turns to shit. And I think every, sort of creative person behind her or deep pocket behind her knows it's an extraordinary risk. She's too toxic to touch.
Absolutely. So speaking of the reality show, the cooking show, I saw the same story. She's already tired of selling the jams and jellies. She's like, well, we might restock in 2026. I think there's no demand. I also think she's lazy. I don't think she wants to work. She should actually run for Congress as a Democrat like Jasmine Crockett, because they don't want to work. They want to twerk and sit around and film videos. So I think she should actually run for office because Meghan Markle, you're lazy. So we also have a clip from her reality show. She posted a deleted scene where she's showing some bizarre pineapple hack. Let's take a look and then talk about it.
Trick that people do with pineapple, instead of just cutting it to make the perfect little bite, you follow the wedge. When nature has given you all the cues on how to have a perfect taste of something.
Oh, how fun is that? I love it.
This woman is being paid millions of dollars to show how to cut into a pineapple. Also, I thought the pineapple was the international symbol for swingers. I think maybe she was like symbolizing she's down to party, down to have some fun. Are you taking cooking advice from Meghan Markle in the kitchen?
Oh my God. I mean, let me tell you this, like, first of all, there's a reason that was deleted. She really should go with her producer's instincts, okay? Second of all, who the hell is sated by one tiny little bite of pineapple? The reason we cut it the way we do is because you eat it almost like a watermelon, or at least half a watermelon slice. It's very sweet, but you want a little more. Just one little bite, that's like having one little handful of popcorn. It's impossible. Nobody wants to do it that way. Once again, proving how unrelatable she is. No, I wouldn't take any of the advice on her show. Maureen, as you know, Callahan and I tried to recreate this thing. And the only thing that was good that she actually did was the one pot pasta, which she very clearly stole word for word from Martha Stewart. And unbeknownst to me, because I don't cook, this is apparently one of Martha Stewart's famous recipes. So she wasn't even clever in her apparent thievery. She just stole it, relabeled it her own, and then tried to act like she'd come up with this cool one-pot chicken thing. After that, it was just taking pretzels from one bag and pouring them into another. And by the way, I have a never before heard secret about her show and our recreation of the show. She decided to make microwave popcorn by putting an ear of corn into the microwave, and magically it popped perfectly. And then she put those kernels into a little bag. Oh, so cute. And I remember watching this thinking, there's no way that actually works. But then when we did it, my producer gave me a little ear of corn. We put it in there and it worked perfectly. I'm like, my God, maybe this is the thing. No, you know what? It's a thing. They take these little ears of corn and they treat them with chemicals that make them pop perfectly. So now you've got chemical-laden popped corn. You could have just gone with Orville Redenbacher, who already did all this work for you, without trying to pretend that you're making homemade popcorn at home.
No. Everything is a lie. Also, don't tell Michelle Obama that you don't cook. You might be in good company. So they're telling me we have 2 minutes. I want to get to one last woman who is also insufferable, and she's in the news right now. That is Taylor Swift. So Taylor Swift bought her masters back for $300 million. We're happy she has her music back. If you're not in the weeds in the music industry, no one cares that much. But we had this discussion last night, my team. Do we think Taylor Swift's clout is down, right? She lost all her awards at the Grammys, every American Music Award. She also endorsed Kamala Harris. That went terribly for her. Do you think this is her low moment? Is she down in the weeds, Megyn? Is Taylor Swift kind of over?
Yeah, I think she is. And she did it to herself. She got political. There was no reason for it. You look around at the like Hollywood actresses and the movie stars and the singers who choose not to get political. And they're either very smart Democrats or they're Republicans, right? Like, because Republicans know they can't come out with their politics because they'll get, loathed and canceled by their industry. And very smart Democrats know, as the Michael Jordan rule says it, Republicans buy sneakers too, and Democrats buy sneakers too. And why would you alienate half your fan base? It's not worth it. I was recently told, for example, Renee Zellweger keeps her politics very quiet for a reason. She's from Texas. You can figure it out from there. But Taylor Swift thought she was too big for the rules to apply to her. And as it turns out, she's subject to the rules of gravity, just like every other human on earth, no matter how much she can fool 14-year-old girls into thinking she's some sort of a role model, even though her entire history is getting dumped by a series of men and not to land into a marriage or a family by the time she's in her mid to late 30s. So Taylor Swift thought the rules didn't apply to her and that she could get political, that she could not only get political and endorse Kamala, but actually tell the world that the reason she was endorsing him is because of tampon Tim Walz and their weird stance on LGBTQ issues, which includes transing children and seizing custody of them from parents who will not support the alleged transition. That's Tim Walz for you. And he was the reason she endorsed. So yeah, it cost her. And guess what? The whole country, there's a groundswell behind Republicans, conservatism, whatever, I can't speak, it's too early. And President Trump. President Trump's more popular than ever. And the Republican Party is too. There are new data out on that today. So she chose the wrong team. So like Oprah, she had her heyday, it's over, and now she's coming to grips with the reality that her opinion politically means nothing. No one gives a shit. She might be able to sing the occasional cute little bubbly song that's meaningful to a teenager, just like Oprah might be able to fool somebody in her 70s that she's still as relevant as she was in the 90s. But regular people know these are not people we should be listening to for advice or their talk shows, or frankly, let's face it, with Taylor, her music either.
Hallelujah. I couldn't have said it better myself. I think Taylor Swift's sort of 2015 girl boss feminism, she hasn't realized the culture has moved on. If she really wants to protect women, it's not Kamala Harris, it's President Trump who's trying to get men out of women's sports and secure the border so we don't have another Laken Riley or Jocelyn Ngari. I think if Taylor Swift really had some gumption, she would have come out on the right side of history, but it's why she got her ass handed to her. So I'm on your show tomorrow. Maybe we can break down some more of this, but we are so grateful to have you. I could not be more grateful. I was telling everyone, this is an A-list booking. Oh my God, we have Megyn Kelly coming on the show. This is a big booking, everybody. So we are so grateful. Thank you. And I'll see you in 24 hours.
So happy to do it. So happy to do it. So happy for your success. Everybody is loving the show. They email me and at me directly. And truly, like, it's genuine, huge enthusiasm for you. Sky's the limit. Can't wait to see what you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you. See you soon.
All right, bye, hon.
We've all had days when skin feels dull, hydration doesn't stick, and energy is all over the place. No amount of water, skincare, or coffee seems to help. That's when Peak's Radiant Skin Duo came to the rescue, and it's been a game changer ever since. This doctor-recommended duo, trusted by experts like Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Jason Fung, and Dr. Will Cole, supports whole body wellness from the inside out. With over 15,000 five-star reviews, it's clear this duo delivers results. Here's why it works. Sun Goddess Matcha provides steady, calm energy throughout the day, no jitters. Packed with L-theanine for focus and EGCG antioxidants, it supports skin clarity and gut health. Look at my skin, because great skin starts from within. BT Fountain electrolytes hydrate like nothing else. Even with plenty of water, many still feel dehydrated. The difference? Clinically proven ceramides lock in moisture into the skin at a cellular level, leaving it plump, fresh, and glowing. Purity matters. Peak's quadruple toxin screening ensures all ingredients are free from heavy metals, pesticides, and mold. Just clean, science-backed hydration and energy. Say goodbye to fatigue, dry skin, and energy crashes. Ready for healthier hydration? Get 20% off plus a free frother and glass speaker here. peaklife.com/link. Again, that's peaklife.com/link. Well, now we have to talk about the most boring gay man on television. Well, someone who used to be on television. Now I don't know exactly what he does, but that is none other than Don Lemon. And Lemon, I think, is the perfect last name for Don Lemon because he's sour, he's bitter, he's upset he's no longer on TV, and he can't hack it on the internet and independent media because he has the personality of a bar of soap. Okay, so Don Lemon is back in the news. He went viral over the weekend for some comments he made about white men. Don Lemon apparently thinks we should ban white men from the country. If we're going to do the Muslim ban, we should ban white men. That's what Don Lemon says. We have a clip. Let's take a look and then discuss.
Remember he had the Muslim ban?
Yes.
And I said, well, why isn't anybody trying to ban white guys from this country? And you would have thought that I had, cut off, a left, or I had taken their firstborn kid or whatever for telling the truth and what the statistics were showing with the FBI data. Why do you think that these white dudes, these white guys are so triggered? Why are they such snowflakes and they claim other people are?
So Don Lemon wants to ban white men. He says they're snowflakes. He's denigrating them. This is really rich coming from Don Lemon because if we ban white men from the country, who is Don Lemon going to sleep with? Okay, this is someone who married a white man. All right, we have a picture up on the screen. One of the gayest pictures I've ever seen in life. And in my opinion, he called the paparazzi on himself. Don Lemon is not famous enough to where the paparazzi are just gonna find him on the beach in Miami, okay? So he is probably the most boring gay man on earth, and he wants to ban white people, but who is he gonna go down on if we have no white men left in the country? That is who Don Lemon is. It's the rules for thee, not for me. So Don Lemon, we wish you well. You're clearly not in Mensa. You're not that bright. You're not that smart, and you're also a racist. And like I said before, I've traveled to almost all 50 states in the last 2 years. I've met Black people, Muslim people, Hispanic people, Asian people. You are probably all from across the spectrum here watching this show right now. A majority of Americans do not look down on each other because of the color of their skin or their religion, right? So if you're trying to whittle down an entire race because of the actions of a few people, we don't want that done to us. You don't want that done to your folks. Let's all come together under the United States of America. Most people do not think that way. But Don Lemon, he has to speak this way in order to get ratings and viewers for his dying and failing internet web show that he does, right? So he has to say these inflammatory things because he needs attention. And right now we're giving it to him. So you're welcome, Don Lemon, and our numbers are better than yours. And thank you all for sharing this show. Thanks for going to Apple, Spotify, giving us 5 stars and sending the show to your friends and putting it on your Facebook wall. So thank you. The next person we have to talk about is none other than Governor Tim Walz. Okay, Mr. Jazz Hands, like I said, he walks into the room looking like Bob Fosse. These vagabond shoes. That is Tim Walz. We can't afford the copyright, so I will stop singing. But he made some comments about President Trump over the weekend. We have a clip. Let's take a look and then discuss.
Called out on this because I called Donald Trump a wannabe dictator. It's because he is. It's because he is. Oh, the governor's being mean and the governor's speaking out on that. Well, maybe it's time for us to be a little meaner. Maybe it's time for us to be a little more fierce. Because we have to ferociously push back on this. And again, I'll speak to my teacher colleagues in here. The thing that bothers a teacher more than anything is to watch a bully, to watch this bully and to stop it. And when it's a child, you talk to them and you tell them why bullying's wrong. But when it's adult like Donald Trump, you bully the shit out of him back. You push back.
Tim Walz. I haven't heard a straight man use the word fierce in a long time. We gotta be fierce, everybody. We gotta keep it fierce and ferocious, as Tim Walz has said. I don't know a lot of straight men who use the word fierce. I don't think I use the word fear. So Tim Walz, we wish you well. I thank God every single day Tim Walz is not anywhere near the nuclear codes, because this is someone who allowed his city, his state to be burnt to the ground during Black Lives Matter. His wife went on TV and said the smell of rubber burning at night put her to sleep or some bullshit. So Tim Walz, we're all so happy he is back home, nowhere near Washington, D.C., nowhere near a position of power. This is also someone who is incredibly radical. So he's trying to rebrand himself like Pete Buttigieg. Tim Walz, all these Democrats, Gavin Newsom, they're doing it too. They're trying to move more to the middle because we have 2028. We've got the midterms as well in 2026. But this is someone who believes wholeheartedly, if you don't let your kid transition in the name of gender dysphoria, that the kid could be taken from you and become a child of the state. That's really scary. That's some 1984 type of stuff, some George Orwell stuff. So Tim Walz, I hope you are never near the White House ever again. And you want to talk about bullying President Trump? You know what? He won the election and you got your ass handed to you. And elections have consequences. Maybe go back to the drawing board and look at the policies that turned off millions of Americans because you lost every single swing state. That's tough. All right, we have to move on to someone else, another man at the top of Democrat presidential politics, and that is Bill Clinton, right? The moral compass of America, Bill Clinton, the man we look to, this moral paragon of culture. Well, Bill Clinton did an interview in which he discussed Joe Biden's decline, and gee willikers, he didn't know anything was wrong with Joe Biden. Let's take a look at that clip.
Speaking of aging, there's this book that came out that talks about Joe Biden and the people around him seeing that he had cognitive and physical decline. Did you ever have a moment with him where you thought maybe he was unfit to run for president? No.
I thought he was a good president. The only concern I thought he had to deal with was, could anybody do that job until they were 86? And we'd had several long talks. I had never seen him and walked away thinking he can't do this anymore. He was always on top of his brief.
You never saw any cognitive decline?
So I didn't know anything about any of this, and I haven't read the book. I saw President Biden not very long ago, and I thought he was in good shape.
Of course, Bill Clinton thought Joe Biden was perfectly fine and a great president because this is someone who was sleeping with an intern, okay? This is someone who was buying young interns Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman, books of poetry. This is a man who was up to no good. The stories we know about Bill Clinton, imagine the stuff we don't know, okay? I bet you 99% of the horrific things Bill Clinton has done have never come to the light and might never come to the light. This is a man who took how many trips? Almost 24 allegedly on Epstein's plane. So I'm not sure he's the best person to opine on literally anything. But let me tell you why Bill Clinton is going on TV and saying, I thought Joe Biden was great. Joe Biden was a spry whippersnapper. Oh, I saw the guy doing cartwheels. I thought he was perfect. This is why Bill Clinton is doing this. Because he and Hillary Clinton got on TV at the Democratic National Convention and full throat endorsed Kamala Harris. They endorsed the Democratic ticket. They are required to keep the Democrat machine going. They cannot allow cracks in the veneer or cracks in the pavement. And they all knew Kamala was a terrible VP. They knew Joe Biden was terrible before that, but they kept their mouth shut and they towed the line because that is their bread and butter, right? They are Democrat elites, and that's how they get good reservations at restaurants. They get to fly on private planes. They get to go to private islands. They get to raise millions for their nonprofits, their Clinton foundations, right? This is why they have to do this, because they got on TV and they endorsed the Democratic ticket, and now they have egg on their face because all these stories have come out and shown that they are liars. There is no way in hell Bill Clinton did not know Joe Biden was in bad shape. I'm just not buying it. Anybody could see Joe Biden was not well. The Mars rover could see Joe Biden was not well, but because he and Hillary supported Biden up until the last minute, and then they supported Kamala even though they knew she was a terrible drunk with no business being near the nuclear codes, they have to keep lying. The best way to conceal that lie is to go on TV and to tell another lie. Or my final theory is this. Maybe Bill Clinton is also in cognitive decline. Maybe Bill Clinton's brain is also turning to mush because he can't see that Joe Biden is also turning into mush. So maybe he can't see those things. He needs to go back to the drawing board. My next piece of advice for the Democrats is this, my final piece of advice for you. Stop putting Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton on television. They are incredibly unlikable people. Hillary Clinton last week was saying Republican women are handmaidens to the patriarchy, just like her basket of deplorables comment. These are people who look down on you with disgust. Bill and Hillary Clinton look down on you and me with absolute disgust. They don't like us. They want to fly over the rest of the country and look down on the forgotten men and women. And they're upset. Bill Clinton's upset because he was the guy from Arkansas who used to be able to say, I feel your pain, I'm one of you. And now that person is President Trump. Okay, a billionaire from New York City who knows how to speak to the forgotten men and women of this country who have been left behind, right? He knows how to go and tell steel mill workers, we are going to invest in you and help you support your families and put food on the table. He knows how to go down to the border and show sympathy for those who have lost their lives at the hands of illegal migrant criminals. These Democrat elites, they don't want to do any of that. So Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, you guys should probably stay off TV. You're not a net positive to the Democrats in any way, shape, or form. Now, we have someone else to discuss. The final person, this just quadruple, trifecta, whatever we're doing of horrible people. We had Don Lemon, Tim Walz, Bill Clinton. This, try not to gag, we got to talk about Chris Cuomo. Cuomo the homo. Well, I don't know about that part, but we got to talk about Chris Cuomo, okay? Chris Cuomo is back in the news for some comments he made. He also has been kicked out of legacy media and is trying to hack it in independent media. But he made some comments about Laken Riley that really ticked me off. Let's watch.
The division is almost exclusively manufactured. We are fighting over culture issues and controversies that are completely made up. We divide this country over a single homicide of somebody, and it's absolutely wrong. What happened to Laken Riley is horrible. It's one too many, any way you want to look at it. But it is also an artificial issue. We have crime issues in this country. Our homicide problem is not from illegal immigrants, okay? Yeah, but there shouldn't be any. There shouldn't be any of a lot of things that we haven't made a top priority.
Chris Cuomo, come in close, sweetheart. You are a beta male bitch boy. Let's put out an APB, an all points bulletin, to locate your balls. Chris Cuomo, you're an embarrassment, and you sound like an idiot, okay? Saying these are cultural issues, that's what Democrats have done to Republicans and independents for years. You will bring up a valid concern. Young women who are being killed, who are being raped, maimed, and murdered by illegal migrants Joe Biden let in. You'll bring that up, and the Democrats, because let's face it, Chris Cuomo is still a Democrat elite, they will go out there and say, those are cultural issues. You're bringing up cultural issues. You're not supposed to talk about cultural issues. No, these are the facts. So you can try to dismiss them as cultural issues. And my question for Chris Cuomo is this. I believe he's a father. I believe he has daughters. If he doesn't, I'm sure he has nieces. You think one dead girl is fine? Couple of dead girls, that's fine with Chris Cuomo. That is basically what Chris Cuomo said. He has not issued an apology. I have not seen one statement from you, sir, expressing contrition for the comments you made. You know who probably didn't like those comments? Laken Riley's family, Jocelyn Nungari's family, the countless other women who have been raped, maimed, murdered by illegal migrants that were let into the country by Joe Biden's open border policy. So Chris Cuomo, you are a joke. You are an absolute joke. We can also talk about men and women's sports. I'm sure you think that's a cultural issue. We're being divided over cultural issues, you guys. You sound like a freaking idiot, Chris Cuomo. I'm not going to cuss because my mom's Bible study is watching. Hello, ladies. How are you doing? But the fact that you think, oh, a couple of girls are losing out on scholarships to men who are infiltrating their sports teams. Oh, a couple of girls have brain damage because they were forced to compete against men. Let's talk about Peyton McNabb. You think that's okay, Chris Cuomo? You think a couple of girls getting the shit beat out of them, getting raped and murdered is fine, and it's a cultural issue that's being used to divide this country. And that is the way the Democrats talk down to voters the last 4 years, and it's why you got your asses handed to you in this last election, sweetheart. It's why people went and voted for President Trump overwhelmingly. Okay, every single swing state, the popular vote, the House and the Senate, because they want common sense. And because President Trump, he did not look down on Americans. President Trump has never looked down on Americans and said, you know what, that's just a cultural issue, I don't care. He listens, right? He's a marketing guy. He had a hit TV show. He's a producer. President Trump listens and he says, you know what? Americans are telling me they don't want men and women's sports. Got it. We're going to handle that. They're telling me they don't want any more of Joe Biden's open border policies. The data shows that. The New York Times data shows a majority of Americans want to deport violent criminals. But Chris Cuomo, maybe you're not even reading the New York Times because you're a freaking idiot. Maybe you're illiterate, but I have absolutely no respect for you. The fact that you would invoke Laken Riley's name, a girl who was brutally murdered by an illegal migrant criminal who should not have been in this country, you invoke her name for some political points on your podcast, and then you say, oh, it's just a cultural issue. You should not have a platform whatsoever, okay? You've shown that you're basically a little Democrat shill. You're the same person you were on CNN when you were pushing everybody to stay inside and lock down and not get together with their friends and family during COVID. That is exactly who you are, Chris Cuomo, and you clearly haven't changed. So I wish your daughters well. I hope they are safe on the street. I hope your wife is safe on the street. But for you to dismiss all of these things as just cultural issues that are dividing the country, no, they're issues that are somewhat dividing the country, but they're not cultural issues. And I also have to say, when it comes to men and women's sports and these things you say are dividing the country, they're 80-20 issues. They're really not the ones that are dividing the country. It's you who's dividing the country for ratings and clicks on your little tiny web show. So I wish you well, Chris Cuomo, but we have to move on. To end our show today, I just want to bring up someone I have admired for months, ever since he came on to my radar, and that is 13-year-old DJ Daniel. You might remember him from President Trump's joint address to Congress. He was sworn in as a U.S. Secret Service agent. I love DJ Daniel. He has been through 13 surgeries for cancer in his brain and on his spinal cord. It was recently reported a few days ago by his father. He has 3 new tumors, and they're basically living on borrowed time. This is a story that has eaten me up. I was shedding tears over it yesterday. I'm not going to cry this morning, but my love is going out to DJ Daniel, his family. It is sad anytime a young person has their innocence taken, and I pray that when it's his time, God welcomes him with open arms. So we love you, DJ Daniel. I'm getting emotional now thinking about it, but it was one of those nights also where the Democrats didn't stand for a young boy with brain cancer. And that's an image that's going to be so just indelibly marked in my brain. The fact that the Democrats could not stand for a 13-year-old boy with brain cancer. So I pray that he is not in pain and that he can live out the rest of his days peacefully and with happiness, and he can keep getting sworn in as a police officer across the country. So our love is with you, DJ Daniel. He's one of the most optimistic people, the most optimistic kids, and someone we should all look up to. So we love you, DJ Daniel. I also love all of you. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing the show. I love that we can have serious moments, discuss these hot button issues. We can also have some fun and talk about the frickin' Duke and Duchess of White Castle, Harry and Meghan. We can really run the gamut, and it's because of your support. So thank you so much. I love you guys. We will be back on Wednesday. I will also be on Megyn Kelly Show on Tuesday. It's an MK Media extravaganza. So stay safe out there. Don't get into too much trouble. Bye.